Hi everybody, it's me, Charles Norm from Sports Solutions LLC. We are the creators of AthleticSOS. It is a software technology that will allow you, if you have a student athlete that thinks they can play at the collegiate level, you can use our software, absolutely no cost to you, and based on their academic information, the sport they can play, the level they think they can participate, we'll show them all the schools that they're academically qualified to attend that have their sport at that level, and then they can do some more research, figure out which schools they like. And we even show you in the software how to approach the colleges so that you can get that athletic scholarship that you're seeking. So this one, it is Happy Father's Day to everyone. This one's a little different for me. I lost my own dad earlier this year. And I think more importantly than ever, I have a feel for how important a father is in their kid's life. Now, my parents were separated. I was around my dad and my dad's side of the family quite a bit. My mom was very insistent on that, and so I was very lucky. But at the age of 15, my mom actually sent me to live with my dad, and then I moved out at 19 and started on my journey to where I ended up. But I have to tell everybody, those 4 years were incredibly important. I mean, completely changed who I am. I don't even know who I would be without those 4 years placed in there. And I'm not going to go into detail on that. Maybe one day I will. For both my grandfathers and my dad, the lessons I learned from there, I know that I'm imparting those, and then how they intertwine into my life as it is, incredibly important. And so I'm not being sexist or anything like that, but I don't think a mom can raise their son the same way a dad can do it and approach it. Because my mom's great, did great things with me, and that's part of who I am also. But my dad completely turned me around. I mean, I'm just like a whole different person, and it just takes something in that masculine presence that just changes everything. And so I would always say to all of the dads, if there's any way you can be in your child's life, you have to do it. You have to do it. The interesting thing about this is a week and a day after my dad's funeral, I got my first grandson. And so it's a real weird dichotomy on how the world works and what's out there. And I'm not saying, that it's the circle of life, all that stuff. That's not where I'm going on this. The importance of, he has his own dad, and so that's not what I'm talking about. But I can feel every time I'm around him and everything like that, the importance of my presence and the way I approach things with him is completely different. So for all of you guys, happy Father's Day. And if you can stay in your kid's life, and I know sometimes being the guy, depending on your relationship with the mom, things can be kind of dicey there. But if you can do it, please be around whatever possible way you can. Your presence is really, really important, which is the next thing I kind of wanted to bring into this is that, I meet on the Saturday before Father's Day. Me and a group of guys, we had started getting together right before the health scare situation. And we just came back this year and we were sitting around, we go and have breakfast that Saturday morning and just kind of talk. There's nothing in particular that we're talking about. We're just sort of just appreciating each other. And we were talking about how men, it feels like as a man, because Father's Day is coming up and usually our wives are doing something and, they might do a little bit of something, but it doesn't feel like it does for Mother's Day. And there's no complaining about it. We just sort of joke around about it. But, when we were sitting there yesterday, I was telling them, I said, the interesting thing about being a guy and to get it, otherwise you can get your feelings hurt really easy, right? It doesn't feel like it's as important. In fact, one of my friends we were talking about, we're probably going to spend more out of our pockets on Father's Day than they would have spent on whatever gifts they are, because either we're going out to eat or we're going to go to, get some food. He was going to cook that day, so he was going to run up to the store and get all the food after we finished eating. And, he goes, hey, this is going to cost me more. But it wasn't a complaint. It's just who we are. And one of the biggest things that we realized was just seeing our families around and happy and content and just sort of free, that sort of no worry on their faces. That's our present. That's our gift. That's what moves us. That's what fuels us on what we do. And so we all kind of agreed to that. And then one of the things I was adding for them, I said, it's interesting. The things that we really do that are really important, they're not tangible. You can't feel them. That's why we don't get a lot of the credit. I mean, people can see if we're providing, right? Provision is like a big thing for you as a dad, for a father, for a husband, for his family. Are you providing financially? Are you providing just in the way that you're around and you move and things like that? So people can see that. And then the other one is protection, right? They can see your security for the family? Do they feel safe? Do they feel like they're in the right place? Have you made the right moves to put them, your kids, everybody in a position where they can blossom, where they can be without fear of something negative happening? You can't control everything in the world, but there's a feeling that, you know, as long as you're around. But the two of the things that we do that people don't see, and they can feel it, but they don't see it. And one of those is foresight. And it's something that, like I said, it's not tangible, but your ability to kind of see around corner what's coming, to make sure by the time the family is ready to get to this level or something's going on, you've already taken care of it. You already know what it's going to take to get it done, and you can see, and so you can guide the family. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the video. But the second one for you is your ability to problem solve, because that's something, and no one sees it, but when something goes wrong, at least in my group, it's like, hey, you know, my wife will tell, hey, call your dad and see what's going on with that, you know, as they were growing up. And she comes to me because I can solve problems. It doesn't matter what it is. I can break it down to what we need to do right now to take care of this and move us to the next level. And so those are the kind of things where you do it. And if you're doing it right, you don't have to make a big pronouncement about it. You just do it. It's part of who you are. And those are some of the things that I think that I picked up a lot from my dad. I just watch him in everyday actions and activities. Everybody used to come to him. He's a legend in LA. Everyone knows who he is. He just was an incredible, remarkable human being. But you don't see it that way at the time. I mean, you see it, but you don't acknowledge it, I guess is the best way to put it. So those are some of the things. But I wanted to come back to the foresight piece of this thing, because this is where I want to bring in the software and AthleticSOS and why I built it the way that I built it. Because one of the things we're trying to do in AthleticSOS is we're trying to get the kids, once they start using the software, they put their academic information. So we're going to show them how important that is, because the only schools we show them in their list are the schools they qualify for. And sometimes those aren't the schools they were looking to go to. And so they start to play around with their GPA and their SAT, ACT scores. And then they go, oh, I get this now, because, you know, it's not the schools that they wanted to. And then when they do see schools that they've never heard of, we want them to go ahead and click through on those. And those schools may fit them. And they're going to do a little bit more research. Do they have my major? What kind of ambiance is it? What kind of atmosphere is it? This is where I want to be. And this could be your daughter or your son. It's not just for boys in this case. And then we want them to look more into the team. You know, they're actually going to click on, they're going to go look at the roster. What year are these kids coming out? And what they're doing is they're learning. They're learning how to go and do research. Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Because this I want to play out in the future, that they understand something that other people don't. I'm going to dig into this, put myself in the best position for where I want to be in the future. That's what AthleticSOS is trying to do. And so you as the dad can play a really important part of this. Again, down below, I give you the code. I tell you how to use the code, and it doesn't cost you anything to use the software. So please use the software and then kind of work with your kid. One of the other things that I see with dads is a lot of times we miss out on who our kid is. Maybe we're working all the time, especially if you're in an intact family. Your wife kind of handles a lot of the day-to-day around the house. And sometimes you don't get to see your kid grow up, especially when they hit about 13 to 15. You're around their athletic pursuits, right? You'll go to the game, you do stuff like that. Maybe you even go to the PTA meetings and all that. And I know those are things where I see a lot of times people complain about men in general, but that's not what we're here for. We're here, I mean, it's good if you do it, and it's a great thing to do. I went to a lot of those too. Some of them I didn't go to because my wife handled that. She knew what was going on there. She was really good at that. But I understood my kids really well. I hung out with my kids enough to see who they were as people, so I could give them that guidance, that foresight. Even for my daughter, I know exactly what kind of world she needed to be in. I knew what she was good at. I didn't know what she wanted to do, and I was going to help her do it. And the same thing with my son. I'm working with my son today on this AthleticSOS, which is the next part I'm going to do with you guys. But I want you guys to use the software to sit down with your kid and kind of get a feel for who they are, what they're doing, and see if you can help guide them towards what they're going to do. And I always do that plus 20 now. And I said, what is it going to look like? They're between 13 and 17. What is it going to look like between age 33 and 37 when they're really taking off as kids? So that's what the software is all about. And I hope you guys can take that and run with it. So for Father's Day, one of the things I talked about last year when I think the first time I did Father's Day was that I wanted us to start, and it just happened to me this morning, which is just weird. I was walking across here at the park. I try to come in really early in the morning, so I'm the only one in the park. And there was a guy here walking his dog, and he saw me and he said, hey, happy Father's Day. And I said, thank you. I appreciate that. And remember, we talked about that. Try to do that all day today, because it would get weird on any other day. I'm telling you that right now. But just if you see a guy, and I don't have my kids with me, he didn't have his kids with him, he was walking his dog, but he said that, and I said, hey, appreciate that. That's our key phrase. Thank you, I appreciate it, or I just appreciate that, amen. Depending on the neighborhood you are, how it go across. But the words appreciation, that's the word I want to see if we can get out for each other as we move forward. And that's just like our annual thing now. So I want you guys to do that. And then the final thing I want to talk to you guys about today is I think every man should start a business. I really, really do. And I'm hoping you guys will take this to heart. Just start something. I know you go to work every day. You've got the kids now trying to go to college. You might have some other kids. You got your duties around the house. You got all this other stuff you have in your life. But you can still start a business. And it's so important now because our kids, or your kids, I'm going to put in, your kids, their future is completely different than ours was. They are not going to walk in and be able to find a job. They're walking into this really dystopian type of world where they can work as hard as they want to, but businesses are only going to pay so much, especially with the interest rates elevated, prices are up. These businesses can't afford that. The biggest expense they have are employees. And so they're going to try to find the people that are willing to work for the very least. And sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are at something, they just can't afford to pay you and do things. So if you guys can start something now while your kid's getting ready to go, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. Don't take any money. Don't take out a loan. Look at what you have coming in, and there's a little piece you can pull off, and you're going to go and start something. You're going to start an enterprise, and you're going to do it for real. You're going to go in. You're going to get a business license. You're going to sign up with your state, whatever it costs to get that done. You're going to have. I have an LLC with an S corp with an LLC designation in it, and I'm going to change that to something else coming up this year. And no matter what you start, it's going to feel like you're not moving forward. I get it. It's going to be hard. So you got to give yourself 7 to 10 years for it to get there. But the beauty of it is if you're working with your kid with the software, maybe you can figure out where their head is. And maybe it's something you've taught them or they've seen you around. And maybe you can say, you know what? I think I can go ahead and get something started that will be adjacent to what they're going to do. And maybe I can bring them over to that. I think the most important things a dad can do is leave their kid either a stepping stone. Maybe they start a business, and maybe your kid doesn't want to go into your exact business, but maybe there's something adjacent to that they can get into, because you can say, you can introduce and open some doors. So I think if you can have a business as a stepping stone for them to move into, that's a great thing to have. And even if they don't move into that, the second thing you can do for your kids is give them a network, somebody that they can pick up the phone and call, and they can say, in my family's case, hey, my dad, Charles, told me to give you a call. Oh, hey, what's going on? What are you trying to do? And that is probably even a bigger thing that you can do for them, because they can move in the world their way. Or you can mention it to somebody, hey, my kid is trying to do X, Y, and Z. And so these are the kind of things that I think are a legacy, and they're what we are about fathers, dads, and men. Don't let people get on your case about what you don't do. Just worry about the things that you're here to do. And like I said, a lot of those things are, you can't put your hand on them. They feel like intangibles. You can't touch them, but they're extremely important. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You're not here to be mom. You're not here to be the female in your child's life. That's not what you're here to replace. If you have to do it, you do as much of it as you can. But just like a man cannot replace what the mom can bring to that kid, the woman cannot replace what the man brings to that child. And you are not here to try to duplicate what her efforts are. So, I always hear men get criticized for their emotional distance or, all of that kind of stuff. Nonsense. Walk away from all that. You're not going to be tough. You're not going to be the tyrant that, doing all this stuff. But your job is to get them prepared for life. And not just the harshness of life, but understanding, especially for your son and for me, that foresight piece, those pieces of not being overly emotional, because that's one of the problems I see, especially in my community, that you get so emotional and then it leads to other things that are all negative for you. And those are not traits for a guy. You have to be measured in what you're doing, and you got to be on purpose for what you're trying to get accomplished. And once you start doing that, all that other nonsense on the side, it can't knock you. You don't get emotionally disturbed about things because you're on your mission. You're doing something. You're going somewhere. You've got a plan in place, and you're going to handle that plan. And the way I saw my dad carry himself, and the way I watch my son. People always talk about, even with my son, he carries himself. And we're different. You can see we're different in our movements, but it's the way we move mentally, physically through life, and we're there for other people, and we try to do as much as we can. And so anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. So again, you guys, happy Father's Day. Have a really great day, whatever it comes to. Don't worry about how it feels right now. I promise you, when you get about to my age on this stuff, the appreciation is there. My wife gave me a remarkable gift this morning. I'm still kind of giddy over that. My sister took me and my some of my nephews and stuff, her kids, took us to dinner yesterday and paid for everything. I'm like, whoa, look at this. I like getting older here. But so I appreciate it from her. Great job. We really had a good time yesterday. And then you guys just move forward. Just do what you're supposed to do the way you know you're supposed to do it, and don't worry about anything else. You'll be fine. Here's the last piece of this. If you guys know any high school coaches, administrators, or anything, next week I'm going to reveal our high school program. And I'm going to, obviously, if you guys are watching me, I'm going to give you guys such a great start and deal and tell you exactly what to do to make it a part of your high school for next year. And I'm going to really set you guys up. I'm going to hook you guys up really well. I'm just really proud of the work that we did. And we just showed, we introduced it out in Hawaii, and we signed up a ton of schools. I'll talk more about it next week. I'm kind of excited about the work that we did. But you guys go ahead and have a really nice Father's Day, and we'll talk to you next week. All right.